You'll see about 20 dogs that are retired, and they're no longer racing. Some of them are no longer in harness at all, but I feel good because I'm being able to provide them a good life from the beginning to the end. And it makes my motivation for being in the sport, it fulfills my motivation. So for that reason, sometimes I'll send a dog home. But I'll send them home for a mental reason. I'll send them home because they're a young dog, they've stopped having fun. I don't want them to equate racing with, something that's distasteful. And because I intend to have that dog in my team for years and years. First year I had Ivan in my racing team, I sent him home at Ophir. He wasn't having a good time, he didn't understand what we were doing. And I sent him home at Ophir. I never dropped the dog again, and I retired him from my racing team at 10 and a half. It was a good move to send him home that year early, because that dog was not a leader then either, but he then moved to be a leader that was a very, led me to top 10 finishes, 4th place finish in 06, because I had provided for him an opportunity to grow into a comfort zone in his team. And I've seen that, I say that because that's a dog that's recognized over here, but I can tell you those same stories with Elroy. I can tell you stories with other people that I've seen that have developed their dogs and taken a little bit, maybe an extra year or so, to bring the dog into the most competitive team, but then the dog stays in the team for many, many years. There Ivan is in Unalakleet. This was the year that we were 4th place. Snacking the team and pulling them in. Lamb snacks for them. Was really a stormy year, really stormy. I had just spent 3 hours storm-bound. I'd come up over Caltech Portage, and we ran third, we pulled third into Unalakleet that year, and it was Doug, Jeff, me, and then Paul Gephardt. And I had been working hard, so I got down on my sit-down sled. This was one of the first years I'd run a trailer sled. And I pulled myself down into the trailer part of the sled and pulled my hood up. And I had young leaders. I put some young leaders in because I thought the trail would be easy and for them to follow. And I hunkered back to take a break. And then they stopped. And I came back out of my hood to see where we were, and we were high-centered. They stopped because they couldn't go. They were belly deep in snow, and I had no idea where the trail was. No idea. And it took me several hours to find the trail. It was blowing so hard, and I finally heard a snow machine, and that gave me a clue that the trail was to the left of me. So I had to pull my snowshoes out. By then it had stormed down so hard, the sled was completely disappeared with a snowdrift. And so I went and I found the trail. It wasn't that far away. It was probably as far as from here to the staircase. But I had to take each dog, 2 or 3 maybe at a time, and walk them over there, breaking trail, and dig my sled out with my snowshoes, and then get a few dogs to help me get my sled. It took me hours to get this far because I had just let my guard down and hunkered down in my hood. And I'm not kidding, I probably was only down in my hood 15 minutes. But now I was hours behind, and I was sure that many teams had passed me. Fortunately, that was not the case. But if I looked frustrated and storm-bound, that's what it was. I had been in a storm for many hours, frustrated. I was at zero, reserves. I was thirsty. I had nothing left in the sled to drink, and quitting wasn't an option. Quitting wasn't an option. Coming in across the sea ice. But boy, I'll tell you, that year that I ran in 03, I just finished my last chemotherapy a couple of weeks before I started Iditarod. And I probably wouldn't have had an option to even start. I had trained through chemo until January. And then January I'd gotten a blood clot in my lung, and my husband had trained for me for a few weeks. And this is another lady that went through chemo around the same, right after me. And anyways, I started the race thinking, I this is at least my world, not the medical world. And if I just make one checkpoint, the next checkpoint, whatever, that will be good enough. And it was cold without hair. It was the first time I'd ever been bald. I hope the only time I'm ever bald. But I really felt for people that don't have hair. No matter what kind of hat you had, this was the hat that did the best, my muskox hat, but I was always cold. And there's Ivan under the arches. That year, Ivan and Trotter were the leaders. I picked my dogs to take me that I had spent the most time with because I was the weakest. And I was for sure the weakest link in the team. But these dogs, they did it. It was all them. We finished 18th that year, and people think, oh, that's amazing, you are amazing, but it isn't me, it was them. They are amazing, and I was there to take care of them is what it amounted to. I feel really blessed. That was the same year Charlie Boulding was trying to finish after having been through cancer for colon cancer, and unfortunately he wasn't able to finish, and that point it was pretty ambitious to decide to even run, much less that we were going to be blessed enough to finish in the top 10. And then that year, I was asked to do a photo shoot for one of the cancer drugs. And I think one of the more challenging things I've done with dogs is we were up between Skagway and Whitehorse, up in the mountains on untracked snow. And they wanted me to do things like this. And, the dogs didn't think that was really smart. I mean, they couldn't see any reason to make, a big old loop like that, on untracked snow. And to try, I was so proud of my leader. That leader right there is a little dog named Ingra. And we had to finally put my leaders in single lead because to get two of them to think that was a good idea at the same time was, really not happening. But to go, and then to come back, they had to come back under a hovering helicopter. And I said, and they had very distinct storyboards of what they wanted these different parts of this photo shoot to look like. So it was challenging. I was most proud of those dogs.